The first sign was the silence. Not dramatic silence. Not the kind laced with passive-aggressive sighs or exaggerated drawer slamming. No, this was surgical. Measured. Like someone tiptoeing across a floor that might collapse if they stepped too hard. That's how she came home from the party. Heels in hand, jacket half off her shoulder, and that weird, almost smiling quiet. I should have asked something. I should have noticed. But instead, I muttered something about the cat puking on the carpet and went back to microwaving leftover lasagna like a clown. Because that's what I am, apparently. A clown with a cheese-stained hoodie and no clue his life just cracked open at the center. The next morning, her phone lit up with a message that said, "Can't believe your answer to the last question, skull, 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 you're wild." And then, still shocked you admitted it faced with tears of joy. I asked her what it was about. She paused. Said it was just a stupid quiz game. Something they did for laughs. Bachelorette party chaos, she said. And then she said this exact sentence. Don't read into it. It's not that deep. Spoiler, it was absolutely that deep. By the time I got the full story, I'd already made myself sick rereading the message a dozen times. I don't even know why I kept looking. Like the words would change if I blinked enough. Apparently, the last quiz question, the one they laughed at, was, if your husband died in his sleep tonight, what would you feel first? Sadness, relief, or freedom? She didn't answer sadness. She didn't even hesitate to tell me that. She was laughing when she said it, like it was some edgy joke. Like I'd find it hilarious too. I obviously didn't mean it, she said, while sipping her tea like we were in a sitcom. It's just one of those dark humor questions. I said freedom because everyone else was saying serious stuff and it got too heavy. But something in her eyes flickered when she said freedom. Like the word tasted good. I wish I could say I shrugged it off. That I had the emotional maturity to let it slide. But I didn't. That one answer started unraveling everything. Every routine. Every memory. Every conversation I thought I understood. Because when your wife jokes about feeling free if you died, you don't forget that. You don't sleep the same. You start listening harder. And what I heard next, that came from her own mouth. On purpose. And it's the reason I haven't looked her in the eye since. She kept doing normal things that whole week. Brushing her teeth beside me, sending me memes on Instagram, asking if I wanted oat milk or regular. But I couldn't unhear that word. Freedom. It wasn't just the quiz. It was the way she lingered on it. Like she'd rehearsed it. Like it wasn't just a slip, but something she'd thought about long before anyone passed her that bachelorette quiz sheet printed in glitter ink. I started replaying conversations in my head. Old ones. Things I'd written off. The way she once said, I wonder what it's like to just disappear and start over. The way she flinched when I touched her back in bed, like I'd pulled her from a better dream. Even the way she'd started calling me dude lately. I thought it was just millennial slang. But now it felt like distance, disguised as casual language. By Thursday, I cracked. I asked her, point blank, what she meant by freedom. I was sitting on the floor folding laundry like some sad sitcom husband, and I looked up and said, did you really mean that? About me dying in my sleep? I expected a laugh. Maybe a god, no? I was tipsy. It was dumb. But she didn't say any of that. She stared at the pile of towels in her lap for a full 10 seconds and then whispered, it's not that I want you gone. It's just, I don't know who I am when I'm with you anymore. And I swear, my skin went cold. I asked, what does that even mean? She didn't answer right away, just sighed. Then she said, when I took that quiz, it wasn't supposed to mean anything. But it made me realize I couldn't answer most of the questions. Like, honestly, I didn't even know what I wanted. But when it asked who I'd want to be with if no one found out, my brain didn't go blank. It went straight to someone. She didn't say a name, but she didn't have to. There's only one person she mentions lately with that softness in her voice. A name that slips out like it's lined with velvet, Theo. I've never even met Theo. I only know him because he sends her Spotify playlists with titles like Late Night Wine Energy and For Days That Feel Heavy. I used to think it was cute. I thought it was nice she had artsy friends. I liked that she had her own world. Now it feels like I was applauding my own funeral. When I asked if anything ever happened, she didn't deny it. She just said, define happened, which is basically a confession. So now I'm sitting here, typing this out like an idiot, while she's in the living room watching some indie movie that probably has subtitles and a tragic ending. And I can't stop thinking about how she answered a fake quiz question with a real feeling. And how, somehow, that's worse than catching her in the act. Because now I know. She's already gone. Even if she hasn't packed a single bag. I wasn't looking for evidence. That's the part one keep telling myself. I wasn't snooping. I wasn't that guy. But after the freedom thing, after the not denial about Theo, something inside me cracked. Not loudly, not like glass, but like paper. Like a tear you don't hear until the whole page is ruined. It started small. I noticed she'd changed her phone password. We've never had rules about privacy, but we also never needed passwords before. I asked her why, and she shrugged. Said something about two-factor authentication, and rolled her eyes like I was a conspiracy theorist. She tossed in a "you're being weird" for good measure. I laughed it off. I always laugh it off. But that night, when she was in the shower, I tried to guess it. I know, it's pathetic. But I tried her birthday, our anniversary, the cat's name. Nothing worked. Then I remembered that once, months ago, I caught a glimpse of her typing 1010. At the time, I thought it was random. But that night, I tried it. The phone unlocked. And I swear I didn't even know what I was looking for until I wasn't finding it. Because everything looked too clean. No messages with Theo. No recent DMs. No flirty texts. It was spotless. Like a hotel room just before check-in. Except, there was this one app, a dumb journaling thing she always used. She once told me it helped her process thoughts she didn't want to say out loud. I clicked it, expecting some poetry or vague affirmations about being strong and balanced. Instead, I saw this. October 2nd, I keep thinking about that question. If you had no consequences, who would you choose? I didn't even hesitate. Theo. It scared me how easy it was. My stomach dropped. That entry was from 2 weeks ago, before the bachelorette party, before the quiz. That meant the party didn't cause anything. It just revealed what was already true. The quiz wasn't the spark. It was the mirror. She'd already picked him, long before I ever knew there was a choice to make. But then, I noticed something else. The next journal entry was deleted. Like, completely. No trace. The app showed a gap. Skipped from October 2nd to October 5th. When I clicked the date manually, I got this stupid message. This entry has been permanently removed. Why permanently? Why just that one? I sat there in the dark, holding her phone, staring at the absence of something like it could still bleed. And all I could think was, what was in that missing entry? A confession? A plan? That night I couldn't look at her. She came to bed humming. Like she didn't have a secret, so heavy it bent the air between us. She reached for my hand under the covers, like nothing had changed. And I held it. God help me, I held it. Because I still wanted her to choose me, even knowing she wouldn't. She changed her perfume. I know that doesn't sound like a big deal, but when you've been with someone long enough, scent is like a language. For 3 years, she wore this warm, amber vanilla thing that clung to my shirts. I used to joke that it smelled like safety, like Sunday mornings and fireplaces. But last week, without a word, she started wearing something sharper, muskier, the kind of scent that walks into a room 10 seconds before you do. I noticed the first time she left for work early, wearing lipstick and heels when it wasn't even a client-facing day. I said something stupid like, "Big meeting?" And she said, "Not really," and kissed me on the cheek. Not the lips. Never the lips lately. Always the cheek. Like I was her little brother or something. I stood by the window and watched her leave. And for the first time, I wondered if she was dressing up for someone. Or maybe worse, if she was just dressing up because she finally felt alive again. Because I wasn't dragging her down anymore. The journal thing haunted me. I didn't confront her about it. I couldn't. How would that even go? Hey, I hacked your app and read your private thoughts. Also, why did you delete the part where you probably planned to leave me? Yeah, that'd go well. Instead, I did something even more pathetic. I started trying harder. I made her coffee in the morning before she asked. I cleaned the microwave without her nagging. I complimented her hair even when it hadn't changed. I watched her dumb murder documentaries and pretended to be interested when she paused them to give her theory. And the worst part? The more I tried, the more distant she became. It was like she could smell the desperation on me. Like kindness had turned sour in her mouth. She started responding to my affection like it was clinginess. Like I was a barnacle on the ship she was trying to steer away from the wreck. One night, she came home late. Not dramatically late, but enough to notice. Enough to plant a seed. I asked where she'd been, keeping my tone light. She said, "Just out." Cleared my head. Drove around. I asked, "Alone?" She gave me this look. Half amusement, half pity. "You think I'm cheating?" And that's when I realized something ugly. She wanted me to ask that. She wanted me to squirm. to wonder, to chase her, because it gave her power, not because she wanted to hurt me. No, this was worse. She didn't even care enough to deny it convincingly. That night I lay awake beside her, staring at the ceiling while she snored softly, and I thought about how many ways a person can leave you before they actually walk out the door. She hadn't packed a suitcase. She hadn't said the words. But in every other way that mattered, she was already gone. The thing about pretending everything's fine is that it eventually makes you feel insane. You start second-guessing what's real. You hear laughter from the other room and wonder if it's about you. You see her smiling at her phone and feel like someone just pushed you off a building. But the worst part is when you're right, and there's no satisfaction in it. Just the quiet horror of realizing you were never paranoid, just behind. It started with a cloud backup notification. I only noticed it because I was deleting old screenshots from my own gallery and accidentally tapped into the shared album we hadn't used in months. You know the one. The kind couples set up when they still think brunch selfies and matching hiking boots are eternal. There were 3 new photos in there. Not recent, exactly, maybe a week old, but newly added. They weren't scandalous, not in the way you'd expect. No lingerie, no kissing, no hotel room mirror shot. Just Morel, sitting in her car, looking out the window. But it was the way she looked at the camera that made my throat close. Not posed, not casual. It was intimate. The kind of look you give when someone says your name, and it makes your stomach flutter. Her lips were parted slightly, her eyes soft. The golden hour sunlight kissed her skin like a painting. The second photo was blurry, like it had been taken quickly. She was laughing in a way I hadn't seen in I don't even know how long. It felt cruel, seeing that expression, so unguarded, so vibrant, knowing it wasn't for me. I don't make her laugh like that anymore. I don't even think I could. The third photo sealed it. It was a selfie, his and hers. A man's shoulder. Only half his jaw visible. No eyes. No tag. No name. Just enough to prove it wasn't me. Just enough to break something. My hands shook as I scrolled back up. I must have stared at the images for 15 minutes. I kept hoping I'd find something. A reflection, a clue, some detail I could latch onto and spin into an innocent explanation. But all I saw was the look on her face. And I hated myself for still loving it. I didn't confront her. Not yet. I'm not proud of that. I needed to be sure. I needed to build the whole puzzle before I flipped the table. So instead of throwing my phone at the wall like I wanted, I took a screenshot and sent it to my old laptop. That way, even if she deleted the evidence later, I'd have it. I could prove, to myself, at least, that I wasn't imagining any of this. That night, she made pasta. She hummed while cooking. She asked if I wanted Parmesan. I almost laughed. Parmesan? After what I saw. But I said yes. Because that's what I do now. I say yes. I nod. I smile. I lie. I eat her food like I'm not choking on it. Because in some twisted way, I want to see how far she'll take this. How long she'll pretend I'm stupid. How many more little betrayals she can serve with a smile. And deep down, I keep asking the same pathetic question. What if she does love him? What if he makes her feel like I used to? And what if the thing I'm holding on to doesn't even exist anymore? There's a moment when you cross a line and realize you can never go back. For some people, it's an affair. For others, it's a lie that snowballs. For me, it was the moment I opened her laptop while she was in the shower and connected her messaging app to my phone. She'd logged into her desktop client weeks ago and forgot to log out. I know it's wrong. It's betrayal. But so is leaving your heart wide open for someone else. So is uploading selfies with a man who isn't your husband. So is making pasta like everything's normal while the house is quietly flooding. I didn't even know what I was hoping to find anymore. I just knew I needed to see. Needed to confirm what I already knew in my bones. Needed the ground beneath me to finally crack so I could stop pretending it was still solid. The sync took 5 seconds. The first message thread at the top was from Theo. Of course it was. The conversation wasn't sexual. No steamy confessions. No, I miss your body, or anything that could be screenshot and weaponized. It was worse. It was intimate, vulnerable, full of the kind of closeness you can't fake. He had sent her a picture of his bookshelf. Just his bookshelf. Captioned, organized it finally. What's missing? She'd replied. Me, sitting in front of it with a glass of red. That was 2 weeks ago. 3 days later, she sent him a voice note. Short. 10 seconds. I played it. It was her laughing. Just that. Laughing at something he must have said. I sat there listening to my wife's laughter echo from someone else's phone, not because I was there, not because I made her laugh, but because she wanted him to hear it. There were dozens of messages like that. No smoking gun, just slow poisoning. A message from her said, "Sometimes I feel like I disappear when I'm home. With you, I feel seen." He replied, "That's because I'm actually looking." I stopped reading after that. My stomach turned. My palms were sweating. I wanted to punch something, scream into the wall, flip the kitchen table. But instead, I sat there in total silence, realizing the worst thing wasn't that she might be cheating. The worst thing was that she wasn't mine anymore. Not emotionally, not spiritually, not even conversationally. She had already given the best parts of herself to someone else. The parts one used to reach without even trying. And the part that killed me? She never even tried to hide it. Not really. She just counted on me not looking. Because I'm Harris. The nice guy? The quiet one. The one who buys flowers for no reason and listens to her Spotify playlists and washes the car on Sundays. The guy she doesn't see anymore. When she got out of the shower, she kissed my forehead, told me she was thinking of baking something sweet later, and asked if I'd be around for dinner. I told her yes. Because I'm still here. Even if she's not. Something strange happens when you stop fighting for someone. Not loudly. Not with slammed doors or screaming matches. Just, inwardly, quietly. When your heart gives up and folds itself like a letter no one will read. They can feel it, even if they don't know why. That's what happened the morning she noticed I didn't ask where she was going. She came out of the bedroom in that oversized cream sweater I used to love, hair half-tied, keys in one hand, phone in the other. Her face was glowing in a way I hadn't seen in a long time, and it wasn't for me. I was sitting at the table pretending to read the news, stirring my coffee long after it stopped being too hot. She hesitated near the door. "You okay?" she asked. "Yeah. You're not going to ask where I'm off to?" I shrugged. "You'll tell me if you want to." She looked at me like I'd forgotten a script, like I'd skipped a line in a play we'd been rehearsing for years. And in that moment, I think she finally saw what I'd been seeing for weeks. The cracks in the paint, the shape of the ending. She smiled, but it didn't reach her eyes. "It's just brunch with Eden." I nodded. "Cool." She lingered in the doorway for a second longer, like she was waiting for me to stop her, or accuse her, or ask if Theo would be there. But I didn't. I couldn't. Because part of me already knew what I'd find if I pulled back that curtain. And I wasn't strong enough anymore to keep looking at the truth. After she left, I sat at the kitchen table for almost an hour. Not crying. Not breaking. Just existing in the weird, numb space that comes when you run out of both energy and denial. Then I did something I hadn't done in months. I called my sister. I hadn't told anyone what was happening, not because I didn't trust them, but because saying it out loud would make it real. But I needed to speak to someone who remembered me before I became a man who checked phone logs and screenshot text threads and flinched every time his wife smiled at someone that wasn't him. She didn't say, "I told you so." She didn't even ask what took so long. She just said, "What do you need?" And I said the truest thing I've ever said. I need to stop waiting to be chosen. That hit me harder than anything Morel could have texted Theo. Because it made me realize I wasn't even angry anymore. I wasn't jealous. I wasn't heartbroken. I was tired. Tired of trying to convince someone to come home to me when their heart had already unpacked somewhere else. Tired of making space for someone who left crumbs instead of presents. Tired of narrating my own slow fade in someone else's love story. That night, I didn't speak much. Neither did she. We existed beside each other like two polite strangers in an airport lounge, waiting for different flights. She asked if I was hungry, and I said I'd already eaten. I hadn't, but I didn't want her to feed me out of guilt. Before she fell asleep, she asked, "Are we okay?" And I said, "I don't know anymore." She didn't respond. She turned over, and for the first time in weeks, I didn't reach for her. I didn't plan to leave a note. It sounds dramatic. It sounds like something out of a movie, the kind of move someone makes when they want to be chased. But that's not what this was. I didn't want her to chase me. I just wanted her to understand that I wasn't disappearing out of spite. I was leaving because I finally remembered who I was before all this. I woke up that morning before the sun, packed a single bag, and fed the cat. I stood in the doorway of our bedroom for a while, watching her sleep. Her hair was a mess, one hand curled under her cheek. She looked peaceful, and for the first time in a long time, I didn't feel angry. I didn't feel betrayed. I felt free. Not the kind of freedom she fantasized about in that quiz. Mine wasn't escape. Mine was return. I left the note on the table where we used to have breakfast together. It wasn't long. Just a few lines. You didn't break me. You woke me up. I don't hate you, but I can't keep waiting to matter again. I'm choosing myself now, finally. Be well. Truly. I took nothing she'd miss. Left the keys in the drawer. Locked the door behind me. I didn't have a plan. I just drove. Past the coffee shop where we used to argue about nothing. Past the gym where I now knew Theo worked. Past the intersections where I once hesitated, unsure of everything. But I didn't hesitate that morning. I drove until the city blurred behind me, and the sun cut through the clouds like something had finally shifted. I found a quiet little place by the coast 2 hours out. Nothing fancy, just quiet. I rented a short-term room above a bookstore. The kind that smells like paper and cinnamon. The kind of place where people say good morning and actually mean it. That night, I took a walk by the water. I didn't think about her. I didn't check my phone. I didn't cry. I just breathed, slow, deep, steady, for the first time in what felt like a lifetime. Sometimes healing doesn't come from confrontation. It comes from absence. From stepping away before you break yourself, trying to hold together something that's already gone. 3 weeks have passed. She hasn't called. I haven't either. And I think that's okay. Maybe one day she'll think of me when she smells coffee or sees a man folding laundry with too much focus. Maybe she'll wonder how it all slipped through her fingers. Maybe not. But me? I'm starting to remember how it feels to smile without faking it. And that, after everything, is enough.